AMD officially announced their next-gen Ryzen 9800X3D, and we have performance, pricing, and everything, so let's get right to it. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. To say the leaks were spot on is an understatement. We've known AMD was set to release the 9800X3D for quite a while now, and like I said, it has officially been announced. Not just that teaser we saw a few days ago, but before I get to that, I will have affiliate links down in the description below for when it's released. It doesn't cost you anything more, and it helps the channel out. Now, as you can see, this is the press release. And first up, let's go ahead and go over specs. You can see this is the 9800X3D, and to no one's surprise, it's an 8-core, 16-thread CPU with 104 megabytes total cache and a TDP of 120 watts. And as far as frequency, it comes with a base frequency of 4.7 GHz and a boost of 5.2. Now, that boost may not seem all that impressive when we look at the 9700X because it is 5.5 GHz, but the base clock of the 9700X is 3.8 GHz versus 4.7. And that may actually explain why we were seeing slightly slower single-core benchmarks with the 9800X3D, at least for these leaked benchmarks that we've seen, but slightly higher multi-threaded benchmarks. And guess what? While yes, the boost is 5.2 GHz, like what the leaks also suggested here, it is able to overclock. You can see it allows for extreme overclocking of the processor. And what it's referring to here is the fact that yes, once again, the leaks were right. This comes with the second generation AMD 3D V-Cache technology. And what this is, you can see here, it says the 64 megabyte cache memory has been relocated below the processor, which puts the core complex die closer to the cooling solution to help keep Zen 5's cores cooler. And that's how they're allowed to now offer full-blown manual overclocking. Now, when it comes to performance, really quickly before I get to it, some people were bashing me when I was discussing this leak about the fact that the 9800X3D is expected to yield around an average of 8% higher gaming performance versus the 7800X3D. And a lot of people in the comments of that video where I discussed this leak were like, oh, why do you keep sharing this stuff that's clearly not true? This is absurd. We know it. Well, it looks like that was absolutely correct. This slide comes from a new video by AMD announcing the CPU, and as you can see, yes, we are looking at an average of 8% based on 40 plus games versus the 7800X3D. And obviously, while that isn't all that impressive, I will at least say this: you can see that some of these don't see a difference at all, and yet some of them will see a huge difference. And when we compare this to Intel's absolute best brand new Core Ultra 9 285K, you can see in the 40 plus games tested, they are claiming a whopping 20% performance boost. But just like before, where some games don't have much of a performance boost at all, but then some games could be massive. I mean, look at this. Watch Dogs Legion, we're talking 55% faster. Cyberpunk 2077, 59% faster. These are huge differences. And don't forget that this is Intel's most expensive new mainstream CPU. And not only that, but according to AMD right here, you can see The Last of Us Part 1, just as an example, talking about things feeling smoother, the 9800X3D has a similar average frame rate compared to the competition, but a 31% higher 1% low frame rate. Meaning that while, yes, they do have very similar average frame rates, the parts where it drops pretty drastically, the really lower frame rates, are quite a bit higher with the 9800X3D, which makes the whole experience feel smoother. And lastly, we have price. As you can see right here, it isn't exactly cheap at $479. I believe it's about $20 more than the 7800X3D when that CPU was released, so it's not too bad. But of course, any kind of price increase does suck, but still, it's quite a bit cheaper than, say, the 285K, yet, of course, it completely crushes it in gaming. So for anyone who are pretty much exclusively gamers, I will say it's pretty important. This is very much a gaming CPU through and through, just because you can get stuff that's the same price that will likely completely crush it in multi-threaded performance. But for the absolute fastest gaming CPU out there, that's really not bad. So while that does it for today, are you pumped for AMD's Ryzen 7 9800X3D, or are you a bit disappointed? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And as always, have a great day.